So as I say, you're welcome to put in a chat or two, anything that comes to you. Just ask away, and we'll come to questions at the end. But if there's something that you really want to ask, then feel free to do that. Stick your hand up, and so I'll just do a basic introduction before I hand over to Helen. My name's Mike Gray. I work at Health Education England in the National Portfolio Office as a capability and resourcing manager. So that's my primary role, but I have another role to play, as we all do. We all have other roles. Job titles say one thing, but we actually do a whole host of things. So I sit on the NHS Project Futures programme board. So the NHS Project Futures Festival that some of you may have attended in February, I helped to coordinate the speakers, and there's a whole host of us behind the scenes helping people deliver those 5 days of information. Which yeah, so if you did take a part in that, thanks very much. It's worth saying we had about 900 people register for that festival. We do have another follow-up plan, so pop it in your diary. You're kind of the first group to hear about it, but it's on the 25th of May. It's for 1 day. And for some of you that don't know, the festival homepage is available for the next 4 months. So if so some of you may not know that, but you can continue to connect with people, and I'll share my screen now just so for some of you, so you can continue to network. You can look back at the agenda. You can go to the speakers and find out more about them. You can listen back to any of the recordings through the agenda itself and pick out any of the things that you may have missed, that you may have wanted to visit but you didn't have time to do. For example, my pitch on the capability framework, the recording is available there, as is the handouts that were provided. So you can download those at any point, and you can network with people as well. And it's also worth mentioning that in the exhibitor list, Helen, who's representing Cambridge Spark today, there is a link there with recordings and information for you to find out more about what today's Lunch and Learn is about, which is the Data Analyst Apprenticeship Level 4. So you can find out more from Helen and her team using that link. For those of you that didn't register for the festival, don't worry. The recordings can be found in our healthcare project delivery community on Knowledge Hub, on YouTube. So we've got a YouTube channel with all the recordings on there. And the recording from today will also feature on that list of videos. For any of you that, it's worth mentioning actually, for any of you that work in a PMO team, there's a podcast on the PMO toolkits. There's also a short tour of our project delivery community on Knowledge Hub, which Jocelyn did, which is it's only a 7-minute video, but really worthwhile. There's case studies from PMO leads across the country about lessons drawn from COVID, and all the recordings from the festival. So if that interests you, I'll once Helen goes through her presentation, I'll put the link to this in the chat. It's also worth mentioning as well the expressions of interest, which is where I invited you to join today's session. So we've had, since the festival, had over 200 responses. So that is still doing the rounds at the moment. And if you want a link to that, I will also put that in the chat. So you can share that with your peers and with your colleagues, so that we're capturing a broader range and a more diverse range of people. So that's continuing at this point. So my final sort of piece was to I don't know whether you've got access to the education program summary documents. and the access guide. So some of you are coming into today's chat with wanting to do or interested or wanting to do an apprenticeship, and others are coming into this from an organizational perspective. So these documents will support decision making and help you to understand how to draw down the procurement exercise HE did, which take it from me, took ages, a lot of time, a lot of efforts. So to save your organisation from having to do that, we set up these 4 programs. So we cherry pick basically the best of the best. So I will share those out as well. So you've got those. Other than that, today's session really was to provide you with information on the level 4 data analyst apprenticeship, which from the expressions of interest we've had so far, there's a lot of you that really are really keen to find out more. So there's an opportunity here to ask Helen and a colleague any questions that you like. Might not have the answers, but be inquisitive, and if there are any questions we don't get answered today, we can perhaps come back to you on those. So Helen is going to talk shortly and share a short presentation, and yeah, I'll end there, Helen, and hand over to you if that's okay.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mike. That was super useful. Yeah, so lovely to meet you all today. Really appreciate you taking time out of your lunch to actually meet us. So just by way of introductions, my name is Helen, so I work for Cambridge Spark as the Head of Training Solutions. I'm also joined today by Ral. So Ral, I'll let you briefly introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. Lovely to be here. I'm the founder and CEO of Cambridge Spark. The reason I've got my headphones in a weird position is I'm expecting a puzzle, and this has noise cancellation, so I kind of need to check if there's a sound. But great to be here, and look forward to presenting what the program is all about to everybody.
Amazing. You look very kind of DJ-like, is that right? So really informal. If you have any questions as we're going through this, feel free to interrupt us at any stage. I'm conscious as well, if you want to catch up with us afterwards, you're more than welcome to too. So just, I guess, by kind of a starting point, I'm going to share my screen with you all. So I thought as a useful kind of starting point, just to give you a bit of an overview about who we are, what we're doing alongside Mike at NHS Project Futures, and also kind of give you a bit of an opportunity to ask any questions that you may or may not have. So who are Cambridge Spark? So I'm assuming none of you have heard of us before, but it's lovely for all of you to join today. So we are a specialist data science and AI training provider in the UK. We're one of the only specialist apprenticeship providers that offers the full stack pathway. So that's everything from data literacy, data analysis, data science, and we're able to provide a full career progression for individuals at the start of their career all the way to becoming a fully qualified data scientist. We're also endorsed by Innovate UK, which is pretty cool. So we've developed a platform with them, which you'll be using if you decide to study your level 4 with us as well. It's really simple to use. More than happy to kind of give any of you a demo of that as well. So this slide is quite useful just to give a bit of an overview in terms of what you'll be doing alongside us, how it's structured. If I just there we go. So Cambridge Spark, we are a specialist data science and AI training provider, as I mentioned. In terms of the programs that we offer, you can see them all here. So at the bottom of the screen, we've got what we call our Data Essential Certificate. So that's what we call the foundations of the house as such. So that's really looking to help individuals be productive on a day-to-day basis, using tools that consume data as well. And just being more confident in terms of delivering presentations, utilising data as well. The next level up from that is our level 4. So that's very much more targeted at answering business custom queries. So questions like summarising KPIs, diagnostics from investigating data from different databases, being able to clean, merge, visualise it. And we actually teach Python as part of this programme as well, so we can go through that as well. And then the next level up from that is our AI Apprenticeship Academy. So that's much more targeted at individuals who are interested in data science and building models, forecasting, building recommended systems. So if I pass across to Raoul now, so he'll go through the next slide with you.
Cool. Thank you. Can everybody hear me well? Just let me know in the chat box. I think that's always useful for me to know. Helen, maybe you can confirm you can hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great. So I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about the data lifecycle and what is the objective with a data analyst. So really, the value a data analyst can provide the business is to answer the questions, what is going on and why is it going on? So that's what we mean by a descriptive or diagnostic type of query. So it's really important for a data analyst to be equipped with, on one side, domain expertise that is useful to the business, and on the other side, equipped with the right tools and techniques to conduct a data investigation. So that's really, if you bring those two together, you get a data analyst. So let's talk about this diagram here, and then I'll explain how does that relate to the curriculum of the data analyst program. So at the end of the day, there needs to be a business objective to accomplish, and having a strong domain understanding really helps you appreciate what the business problem is. So let's say in the context of a hospital, maybe you're tasked with optimizing the resource utilization or the capacity of the inflow of patient in a hospital. And you want to make sure that you have the right staff at the right time to be able to support a increase or decrease of the inflow of patients. All right, that is the problem, the business problem that we've been tasked. So how can a data analyst help here, right? So data analyst will be able to answer the first question is, what have we got going on? So for that, we might want to pull up different databases, different spreadsheets that's going to tell us the intake of patients across the year, across different departments, and be able to relate that with the staff allocation on specific days. So in order to do that, you're going to have to be equipped with tools that give you the flexibility of working with data in different formats. I'm sure everyone's having nightmare about Excel spreadsheets. So, that would be an example. Different database systems used in the hospital are actually available through the NHS through APIs. So you need tools to do that. You'll need to figure out how to merge it. And that's what we call the collection part. So you need tools and techniques to facilitate collection. The second step is going to be to process and clean the data. So perhaps, different departments will have different ways of storing a date and a time. Some people like to say 7th of April, 2021. Some people like to say 7/4/21, right? They both represent the same day in the year, but with two different formats. So in order to be able to do useful data analysis, we're going to have to figure out how to clean the data and normalize it in a way that allows us to be productive. So that's the pre-processing and cleaning step. The next part will be fantastic. I've managed to merge the data, I managed to format it. I can do basic KPIs, number of patients on a given day or given times of the days, with the number of staff as well. But visualization is a useful tool that tends to give you trends or outliers. So maybe by plotting how the story looks like in a given month, you'll be able to find a sort of cycle based on the demand of staff and the inflow of patients. So that's what data visualization is all about. And the next step may be, well, great, I've managed to answer the question, what is going on? I've managed to answer why is it going on, thanks to data visualization. You may wish to actually build a model that will link back to the business problem. So how can we forecast the inflow of patient? How can we forecast the right staff or the number of staff that is going to be needed at a particular time of the day in a specific time of the year? So that's where modeling comes in, which is typically a field reserved to data scientists, but it's really good for a data analyst to have an appreciation of what it can do. So you'll build a model, you'll train it, you'll evaluate it, and you're able to link it back to the business problem. Is actually being able to forecast the resources that are needed at a specific time of the year. And that really completes the data lifecycle. So Helen, if you could move to the next slide. Our program, the Data Analyst Apprenticeship, really will take you from learning Python for the first time. So you're going to go through the fundamentals of Python as a programming language. And it's really important because Python essentially is a programming language that gives you a lot of flexibility rather than having to use off-the-shelf tools that limit what you're able to do. Python gives you the flexibility to actually solve any type of problem that you have, but also customize, for example, the output of a program or the type of visualization that you want to produce to present back to stakeholders. So the first 3 months of a program are spent on learning Python and Pandas, which is a Python tool to do data processing. So working with spreadsheets, maybe merging 20 spreadsheets together and reformatting it the way that you require it, as well as data visualization. So you're going to have half-day classes every week in the first 3 months to make sure that you're really well supported and you really have an opportunity to pick up that skill set so you can demonstrate the value back to your team and organization in a short time frame. We really want to equip you with the tools so that right away you can transfer the skills on real projects at work. So that's the first 3 months. The next 3 months of the program, we switch to bi-weekly classes to go into topics like working with SQL, which is a language to operate with databases. We also teach you how to interface with APIs. So especially in the public service, it's really important. A lot of data sets are open to the public through APIs, which allow people to pull in data to do their own processing. So we're going to teach you how to work with that. And that covers the first half of the program. So by the first half of the program, you'll already be like a well-rounded data analyst that is able to answer the what kind of question and the why. And the second half of the program, we switch to more of an e-learning model that allows you to go into topics around modeling. So how to build your first models that it's going to be able to do basic forecasting and basic recommendations to really complete the data lifecycle. Now, along the way, you're supported through a learner success coach who's going to work with you to provide a pastoral care, but develop SMART goals to help with your career progression and make sure you have the right learning environment that suits your needs. You're also going to have a technical mentor. And the technical mentor is there to ensure that you transfer the skills learned in the program into tangible projects in your workplace that deliver a return of investment. Because while learning for learning is cool, we actually believe at Cambridge Spark in learning for a purpose, and that purpose actually by demonstrating useful projects that embed the skills at work. And you also have access to our tutors and teachers, which are there to help you acquire the knowledge. So Helen, if you could move to the next slide, please. This slide gives you an overview of the curriculum that is covered in the data analyst program. So as I said, it's a technical program. You're going to learn Python from the first day that you join. Then you're going to move to data processing and then data visualization. We also cover, as an elective, one of the two main dashboard tools out there. So one is Power BI, which, if you have embraced the Microsoft Enterprise Tool Suite, you would have access to, or Tableau. So those are dashboard tools that often allow you to get things done quicker than you would in Python, especially if there's off-the-shelf functionalities already available. Then it's a great place to start with. So we cover that. Then we did dive into how to make data analysis and data science work for the business, aligning your work to outcomes. Then we move to databases, doing a bit of text mining. So data analysis is not just about spreadsheets. It's also about working with text. For example, reports written by nurses and doctors often have qualitative data as well as quantitative data. So that allows you to operate with both sides of the coin. And as I said, the second half of the program starts to build up the kind of like more modeling and statistical knowledge, which gives you a progression into the next pathway, which would be a level 7 program. So we kind of start building up that knowledge in case you want to progress further in your career. So really comprehensive and complete program with the objective on making sure that you deliver impact at work. So the next and perhaps the final slide on my side, Helen, is just to give you an overview of the learning experience. So at Cambridge Spark, we take it really to heart, and we've structured the learning process into 4 steps. The first step is what we call the learning phase, and this is where you learn new knowledge through attending on live classes, through going through our e-learning modules, through attending workshops. This is where you really acquire the knowledge. Then actually, there's no point acquiring knowledge if you don't actually practice and get to do stuff, right? Because ultimately, the role of data analyst is really practical. So that's what we call the experimentation stage. So we've created our own learning platform, Educate AI, which is tailored for delivering personalized learning in data science. So we're providing you with sandbox projects with a range of data sets across different sectors, including health and care, but also other sectors, to really stimulate your thinking and give you an overview of what's possible. So essentially, it's a platform where you write code, you submit, and you get instant feedback, which really allows you to progress quickly and not be stuck. So that's what we call experimentation, because you have a safe environment to learn by doing, which really accelerates the time it takes from acquiring knowledge and transferring it to projects. Then the next phase is what we call application. And at that point, you've got the knowledge, you've practiced the skills, and together with your technical mentor, you develop opportunities in your workplace where you can transfer those skills into work-based projects. So it would be your own data sets, your own use cases. That's your time. This is when you get to be useful and you deliver an impact, which ultimately deliver a return of investment to your organization. And that's supported by the technical mentor. Now, the final step, and the order here, you see it's a continuous cycle, almost like in an agile process, is the community. You're part of a large community of like-minded individuals at Cambridge Spark, and we organize monthly expert guest speaker talks. So we would invite chief data officers, head of data science, head of a business practice, to talk to everybody, all our learners, including alumni, around how is data analysis and data science working for them? Or how is it not working? Sometimes it's failing. What can we learn from those stories? So you're part of this community and you have access to all those speakers as well through the program. So just to summarize, again, this is really a hands-on program. And our goal here is to make sure you deliver an impact in your workplace. And yeah, that's it on my side, Helen.
Thank you. That was super useful. And then I guess from an application perspective, which is obviously fundamentally why you've all joined us today, if it is something you're really keen on, we have got a start date, which is commencing on the 16th of September. So we'd be looking at applications ideally before, but if not, the deadline is the 12th of August. So that's a short overview of the programme in itself. I guess now would be a really good opportunity if you've got any questions to kind of put your hand up, ask away, go for it, feel free.
Thanks very much. That was an excellent presentation, well delivered. Thanks a lot. Good balance of information and relevance, and I like the fact you tried to describe the work you do in terms of bed capacity, and people can relate to that, I would have thought. So there's a question come in, is how do you apply and where do you apply for this? Have you got a link you can share with people to
Yeah, so if I
Start.
put my email address in the chat box now, that will probably be quite useful. And then it's really super easy to kind of get the ball moving, because we've done all the hard work, Mike and myself, from procurement point of view. So really, it's just sending your details across, and then we can have a quick catch up if it'd be useful to go into further information. Thank you, Raoul. You've already done it for me.
Oh, nice. Sorry, my youngest has just come in with a new book. Yeah, that's really. I think you may have seen some emails that have been flying around for those that have joined us today, to try to start that conversation with your line manager. Now you've expressed an interest in one or more of the apprenticeships that NHS Project Futures has delivered on, to start that conversation, so your line manager is aware of your intent, or potentially you're exploring this for the first time. So the earlier you get that conversation in, the better, really, so that at least your manager's aware, and that you can start to understand how to apply the learning and put some timescales around it, and start that conversation between you and others, potentially your colleagues that might be interested in that as well. So that's great. Thanks for sharing the email there. That's great, Raoul. So we've got a question in here from Anderson. How can we get more details on the content of the course stroke training to better appreciate its relevance to our workplace? You might, and will you be sharing the slides?
Yeah, so certainly I can share the slides with yourself, Mike, and then if you don't mind sharing it with everyone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be pleasure, Helen. Yeah.
Thank you. But certainly, John, if you want to just drop me an email, so my email, I think Raoul just posted above, please feel free to. And then we've got kind of a more deep dive into the curriculum as well, so we can share that with you. And again, happy to have a call offline from this chat as well, if it would be useful.
I think it's useful to know that there was a reason we picked up Cambridge Sparks, and they were successful in the procurement exercise. Partly because they're so flexible and adaptable as to the content and its relevance to our workplace, and that there's a real desire to align the content with real life challenges and things that are happening in the NHS, and the passion that they had, and the willingness to incorporate some of those things. So actually people are learning the academic side, but putting that into practice into real time and real live situations. So
definitely, that's one of the great things about apprenticeships as a whole. You can really apply what you're learning directly back into real life projects that you're working on right now. So that's exciting from our side as well.
Yeah, no, that's great, Helen. So yeah, I'll pick this one up as well. Actually, it's there's a question about what's the next part of the process if the manager is supportive and happy for that person to move on. I definitely support that your manager then links to your organizational apprenticeship lead. They're likely to have different sort of job titles for it, but essentially there'll be someone in your organization that has a handle on apprenticeships. Encourage your manager to link with that individual. That person should be, I'm pretty certain on this, should be aligned to our HE apprenticeship leads. So there's 8 of those. And after today, when I've shared Helen's slides, I'll put in a link that has 8 of those leads on. So they should be having those conversations. So really, there's kind of 3 people in the relationship. Alongside your manager, there's Cambridge Sparks and there's HE apprenticeship leads, so that conversation's going on, so that you feel supported, that the environment that you're working in is supported as well, and that everyone's clear on when you're starting and what support's required from you. So and you'll have I imagine you'll have some sort of internal processes to follow, but by speaking to your manager and them linking to the organizational lead, that information should be really accessible. If it isn't, the NHS Project Futures email, I'll pop that in the chat as well. You can come to us for support and advice. It's very open and honest forum, so we're happy to take questions. Is there a limit on the cohort numbers, Helen,
No,
for September?
so actually, yeah, I just saw. So thanks, Simon, for asking that. So no, not at all. Even if just yourself, Simon, wants to get started and nobody else does, that's absolutely fine. So please feel free to kind of apply, and no, you don't have to have a 10 minimum. It's literally one person's absolutely fine. And what you'll be doing, you'll be joining a cohort with other learners. So it won't just be the great thing about that, if it is just one individual learner, you get to collaborate and kind of share ideas with other individuals from different industries as well. So that works well too.
Yeah. Do you get a sort of blend of people then from all corners of?
Yeah, it's quite exciting because you understand different tools, techniques that different industries use, so you can kind of pick up things and learn things from that way as well, which is a great learning experience, I think.
And from some of the work I've been doing that was launched at the festival was around competencies and skills and things like that, and actually data literacy and understanding what decisions should be made from data is a growing industry, is it not, Helen?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely massive at the moment. So yeah, it's a good time to get started, I think.
Yeah, I saw on I'll share the link to this as well, the World Economic Forum, Jobs of the Future, and data science, AI, data literacy, and relating that back to project management was in the top 5.
Oh wow.
Jobs of the future. So yeah, pretty much recession proof, I would have thought,
Yeah.
particularly if you're working in the NHS. So there's a question from Karen about organizational funding. So we looked at a few things actually when we were going through this procurement, is around levy arrangements and what was the best way for organizations to draw levy down. So we looked at like a collective levy arrangement where every organization puts in money and do it that way. But from speaking to other organizations, it can get a bit messy. So the best way to draw down funding for this apprenticeship would be through your individual organizational levy, and every organization has one. It's less than 1% of the total revenue. So it's it's there, it's available, and in a lot of cases, organizations aren't making the most of that levy payment. So and as I think, as I'm seeing personally since COVID, a real sort of shift in appetite for apprentices, and it's really interesting at all levels. Those are entry level right the way up to the one that we've commissioned, a systems thinking, which is an MSc. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But if you do need more support on levy and how that works, you only need to know a little bit, but it's about that organizational apprenticeship lead linking into the HE apprenticeship lead, and making those that connection for those to work through those things. So don't feel you need to do that yourself. We're here to support you and connect you with the right people. So I hope that answers your question there, Karen. Any other questions?
There's one from John just asking about the September 2021 cohort. So we actually, just for your kind of background knowledge, we usually run this cohort 3 times a year. So the September cohort is our last one for this kind of year as such, but there will be future cohorts that you could join next year if that isn't plausible.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Helen.
No worries.
Yeah, there's a question again about the framework that this has been secured through. So it's the Salisbury framework, which all NHS organisations are familiar with. So the accessible guide, employer guide that we produced outlines that one. So thanks for your question, Dave. We'll send those on. They should know about it. We've had a few queries actually from people since we've launched them. It's like, oh, we want to sign up to this. How do we do it? And it's like, oh, well, it's already there. It's really easy to do. Saves people heaps of time and effort to re-procure and go through the whole process. So I'll resend that out to everyone that's on today's call, so you can send that on to your apprenticeship lead. and hopefully that'll be useful.
It's really easy actually. So we had, outside of NHS Project Futures, because obviously Salisbury is one of the main framework providers, we had another trust register for our summer cohort actually, and basically all you've got to do is the apprenticeship lead within your trust has to fill in a short URN form and send that to Salisbury, and then you're secured onto the program. So all the actual all the hard work's been done, which is good.
What advice, Helen, would you give to someone who, like me, I'm a classic example. I've been on a few courses. They're only ever like 3 or 4 days. And then suddenly people are committing to like a 12 to 15 month learning commitment. What's your advice to people to try and put them in that space? And
yeah, it's a really good question. I think it is quite daunting sometimes when you're kind of signing up for a program and you haven't necessarily studied in a long time, or if ever. And I think the great thing about this is it's actually applying to projects, real life projects that you're doing at the moment within the NHS. So the two really go hand in hand. It's not just kind of academic study, it's how do you apply that to that and apply that and the application part as such into work that you're doing at the moment. And it is a lot of hard work, but I think the great thing is you've got that time off the job already allocated, that NHS are kind of supporting you with. So it's really a great opportunity, I think, so if you are interested in learning more about NHS, about the data analyst program.
How close do people need to be to data? Do they need to be sort of touching data day to day?
Yeah, so I think with all apprenticeships, it obviously has to be relevant to the job you're doing at the moment. So I'd say, to be honest with you, most roles at the moment within the NHS are touching data in one aspect. The nature of it. But again, if you're worried about that, or you're worried about kind of the work that you're doing and how that would apply, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you to go through that further.
And qualifications, Helen, what's the sort of minimum?
Again, it works on a case by case basis.
Okay.
It's more kind of how passionate you are to kind of get started. If you do have a kind of a GCSE maths or high level maths, that will help certainly. Particularly within the level 4, there's quite a big focus on that Python, so it can be quite daunting for some people. But again, we can have that conversation and kind of go through it in further detail if it's something you're worried about.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. I'm conscious we've only got 5 minutes left, but a question I have, which comes up again, is the 20% off the job. How involved are you in creating a suitable 20% off the job? Do you link with the learner? Is it the line manager? Is it a combination? And
yeah, it's a good question actually. So it's really a combination of everything. So actually from the get-go, when you start your apprenticeship, you've got your learning and development coach, so they'll be there to kind of mentor you and actually pinpoint what you're doing at the moment within projects, your day-to-day role, how that applies to the apprenticeship as such, and how we can allocate that to the what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So even though it's much more kind of 20% applied to the job, so a lot of your role at the moment will be the apprenticeship as such. So just kind of changing that mindset. But again, it's something we kind of sit down with the apprentice and your line manager and kind of go through that in further detail too.
Lovely. No, that's really good, because I think people
it's quite daunting otherwise.
It can be, can't it? Yeah,
but it's certainly not like that. So
yeah, no, that's really great. Well, thanks so much for presenting. It looks like from the comments we've had, people have found that really, really useful, and I think the next sort of steps are for people to have that conversation with their manager. If they've already done that and they're supportive, to link with you and get that application started for September, because although September's like six-ish months, which might seem a long way away, it's actually not, is it? Working backwards and to get all those things in place. So here he is. It's Ethan.
So thank you. Background.
Yeah.
It's my birthday tomorrow.
It is your birthday tomorrow. Yeah, he turns 9 tomorrow, don't you?
Wow, gosh.
It's worth mentioning actually that I'm going to be setting up an apprenticeship group on Knowledge Hub. So Helen will have access. Helen and her team will have access to that. So it's going to be an open platform for people to drop their questions, collaborate with other learners, engage with what they're doing, work through, action replay sets, things like that. So if that's one to look out for, and I will send some comms on that once I get that set up. We do have an apprenticeship article running in this month's NHS Project Futures newsletter. So look out for that and share it with your colleagues, because the more people know about Helen's apprenticeship through Project Sparks, the better really that the NHS can be. So yeah, look out for that one. That one's due out this week, I think. And that's it from me. Thanks again, Helen.
No, thank you so much for setting it up. Really appreciate it. And thank you for joining. I know it's never the most glamorous thing to join something when you have any moments free time work. So.
Oh no, well we may do this again. I think this is going to be a continuous cycle of promotion and just informative sessions that we'll be running. So thanks very much, Helen, and thanks to everyone that's joined up today. And if you've got any questions, NHS Project Futures email, which I'll put in the chat. You can send us your questions there. And yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Cheerio.